Hello and welcome back to Systems. We're doing day 6 and we're substituting again. This is part 2. So in this one you only need to have one of your variables by itself, and it doesn't matter which one. It could be the x or it could be the y. And what we're going to do is when we do that, we find the value of 1. We're just going to substitute that in the other equation where that variable appears. I think it'll become more clear when I show you how this works. So let me first start off and show you that here we have y equals 2x. What I want you to do is once you have a variable set aside, y all by itself or x all by itself, put the other side completely in parentheses. And the reason we do this will become evident as we move along. So now that I know that y equals 2x, I'm going to rewrite this second equation, but instead of the y, I'm going to write the 2x. So watch this. So 3x plus, now I know that y is the same as 2x. So I'm going to plug this in. And I know it seems like you don't really need the parentheses right here, but you'll see why if you get in a habit. It'll serve you well. Equals 10. So all of this, except for the y, we just substituted in the 2x. Now we can solve this. We'll combine like terms. 5x equals 10. Divide by the coefficient. X equals 2. So our solution will start with 2 in place of the x. Alright, now the easiest thing to do is just go right back to this equation and plug in y equals 2. Well, instead of x, we're going to plug in the value for x. 2 times 2, which is 4. Alright. Now let's look at it with the x isolated. So number 2, we find out that x equals negative 3y. So I'm going to take this entire side of the equation and put it in parentheses. And then I'm going to rewrite this whole equation here, 15. Now I'm going to put in my negative 3y. So that's in place of that x. And then I'm going to continue writing this part, minus 2y equals 94. So let's go ahead and start solving this. This would be negative 45y minus 2y equals 94. That's negative 47y equals 94. Divide by the coefficient. And then this will come out y equals negative 2. Negative 2. So here when we start our solution, we don't have the x value, but we do have the y value. So that is going to go, see it's y, so we put it in the y spot. Now I've got this equation here that's already set up for x equals. So I can do x equals negative 3 times, now we're going to take this negative 2 and put it in there in place of the y. Negative 2. Negative 3 times negative 2 equals positive 6. So x equals 6. I'm going to put that right here. And there is our answer. So you see we've solved 1 by substituting y. We solved 2 by substituting x. Now here, number 3, we again have x equals, and we have this entire thing, the whole side goes in parentheses. So now I rewrite this equation. So I have 4x minus 3. Now I need to put in my whole thing here, times 2x minus 10 I can continue writing this. Oh, that should be a 10. Let me go back and fix that. 10 equals 24. So, just so you see, that y there was replaced by those. So then we would need to, let's see, we're not going to do anything to the 4x. So we're going to take this and we're going to distribute. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x, and negative 3 times negative 10 is plus 30 equals 24. So I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 2x plus 30 equals 24. Subtract the 30. I have negative 2x equals negative 6. Divide by the coefficient of x. And I get x equals 3. So my solution, right over here, is going to be 3. I need to find my y. So I take my y equals 2, and then I'm just going to go ahead and write this. 2 times 3 minus 10. That's 6 minus 10, which is negative 4. And I'll put that up here, negative 4. Alright, so again, we have our y equals. I'm going to take the entire other side of the equal sign, put it in parentheses. And then I'm going to rewrite this first equation, 9x minus 8. And then I'm going to take that whole, everything in parentheses, right there, 23 minus x and it will equal 37. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, well, let's go ahead and write down our 9x, and then we need to multiply negative 8 times 23. And yes, I've got out my handy dandy calculator. Equals negative 184. And then the negative 8 times negative x is going to be a plus 8x equals 37. So I'm going to combine my like terms. 17x minus 184 equals 37. Add my 184 in. I get 17x equals, and then I'm going to use I can do this math in my head, but I want to make absolutely sure 221. We're going to divide by 17, and that equals x equals 13. So I'm going to put over here 13 something. So now I need to find this. I need to find y equals 23 minus 13, which is 10. So my answer is 1310. Alright. I would like you to go ahead and practice number 5. I will get you started. You will put your other side of the x in parentheses, and then you will end up writing 3 times y minus 5 plus 2y equals 30. And then number 6 is like we did in the previous one. You simply set this part equal to this part. So that would be x plus 4 equals 16 minus 3x. Alright, let's get on to the more fun stuff here. Number 7, we're into the word problems. I find it's always helpful to draw pictures. As you see, I've got some pictures already set up for you. I have the perimeter of a rectangle is 68 centimeters, so I've set this up in my perimeter formula. The length of the rectangle is 4 more than twice the width, so the length is 4 more than twice the width, so add 4 to 2 times the width. So here is one of my equations. So what I'm going to do is I know that L equals 2W plus 4. So I'm going to rewrite this equation. Let's start here. 68 equals 2, but instead of L, I'm going to write 2W plus 4. And then I'm going to finish writing this plus 2W. All right, let's see if we can get our picture back. There we go. So I'm going to distribute. That's 4W plus 8 plus 2W. That's 6W plus 8. Let's subtract 8. I'm going to bring all this over here. 68 minus 8 is 60 equals, and then what we have left is 6W. Divide by the coefficient. So W equals 10. Now I simply plug that back into this. I have L equals 2 times 10 plus 4. That's 20 plus 4. And I end up with 24. So here we don't have X and Y, but we do need to clearly show that we have a W value and an L value. Right there. Alright. Number 8. I want you to notice that I've already got my walnuts here, and I know yours said pecans and peanuts, but I wanted to use some letters that were distinct instead of just A and B, which could be confusing. So here I have walnuts and peanuts, and what we have is it's kind of tricky. So for every 1 cup of walnuts, there's 3 cups of peanuts. So what I have to do is I have to look and see, I need to isolate what just one of these. Now for one of these to equal just one of these, it would have to be 1/3 the amount of peanuts. Because for this to be equal over here, I would have to select just one of those 3. Now I know nobody likes going through all the motions there of fractions. So let's solve this in terms of peanuts. So if I have 1 walnut equals 1/3 of the amount of peanuts, to isolate peanuts, we would multiply by 3, and that's how I end up with the amount of peanuts equals 3 times the amount of walnuts. So I also have here that $4.99 for each cup of walnuts plus $2.25 for the amount of peanuts equals $35.22. So I have P is the same as 3W. So I'm going to rewrite my equation, and I don't have a lot of room. 4.99, let me get our video back here. 499 times W plus 2.25, and instead of P, I'm going to write 3W times 3W equals our total of 35.22. All right. So what we end up with is this becomes 6.75 W, 4.99. I'm sorry, it looks like the whole computer is running out of memory. Alright, so now what I want you to do is I want you to solve for W and then plug that back into this equation, and you'll get the amount of peanuts and the amount of walnuts. Well, let me go ahead and I'll do this for you. So we have $4.99 times W plus 6.75, and that equals 11.74 W equals 35.22. I tell you what, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to come back in just a minute, but I need to make some adjustments to my computer. All right, well, hopefully our technical difficulties have ironed themselves out, and we're going to continue on. We only have a couple more to do, or actually finish this one up. So now we are going to divide by our coefficient, 11.74. Come on. And 11.74. And we have 35.22. Divide by 11.74. And my calculator is handy right here, and I'm using it, is 3. So, walnuts, the amount of walnuts will be 3. Well, apparently not all of our technical difficulties were resolved, but let's work this out. So now to find peanuts, we're going to substitute 3 in place of the W here. I get P equals 3 times 3, which equals 9. So 9 is our cups of peanuts, 3 is our cups of walnuts, and we move on to the CDs. Alright, we're going to do the new and used CDs. You notice I've already got our equations here, and this works out the same way as the peanuts. So we're going to, U is the same as 3N. So when I rewrite this equation, and let me start right here, 15N plus 9, and in place of U we're going to write 3N, and that equals 168. Alright, so that's 15N plus 27N equals 168. And sorry for the brief delay there. When we add those together, we get 42N equals 168. We divide by our coefficient, and we get N equals 4. So the number of new CDs is 4. Well, the number of used CDs is 3 times the number of new ones. So I can put in here 3 times 4 equals the used, and that's 12. And there you go. All right. So create 2 equations, isolate one variable, plug in the other side of the equal sign of that one variable you've isolated into the second equation. Solve, find out what that variable is, plug it back into your first equation.